We are officially live. And let me check my monitor. All right, today is November 22nd, 2020. Welcome to the new Atheist Experience with your host Kwame Remesu and Kweli Kush. And today we're talking about the historicity of Jesus and whether or not he was a historical figure or a myth. And this is a live call-in show, so if you want to call in and add any 2 cents, if you disagree, feel free to do so. So, Brother Kwame, what's going on with you, bro?
Oh, nothing much, man. It's been one hell of a week, man. You know, I'm up here in Texas, man, and we dealing with a lot of stuff, dealing with the rappers being killed and stuff like that. And I see a lot of people, Christians out, out in the, out with they posters and stuff like that, talking about Jesus, God is still good and stuff like that. Mind you, we just lost a few rappers in this within the month of this month, and people are still saying God is good. People are still saying that Jesus will heal and all this other stuff. But a lot of people don't realize that there is nothing to be thankful for when somebody dies, and it's sad that they would thank Jesus and still call God good after people getting gunned down and their lives being taken, but God is still good. And, they still think Jesus is going to save them and stuff like that. They're up there with Jesus. They're floating around on the cloud and stuff like that. No matter how bad of a person they are, they still went to heaven. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, we got to put this shit to rest, man, because it's really hurting the black community. I don't know why people think that this is helping the black community, but it's really weakening the system. And I think that's why we do have a lot of black on black crime, you know what I'm saying, stemming from religion, because it's a superstitious belief, and it just, I don't know, man, it's just really been a weird week, man. I mean, I can be riding through Dallas and seeing this shit. Rest in peace. You up there with Jesus. I even seen a Mo 3 with a picture next to a white Jesus. I was like, what the fuck? Like, man, I don't know, Kweli, man.
In my opinion, I think religion is the downfall of the black community. You know what I'm saying? Until we stop believing in things that don't exist, we can never do anything for ourselves. The black community, for one, religion is separating us, because you got the so-called woke people. They want to go into the Nation of Islam or into some type of church, and then what that does it separates us, because everybody don't follow that doctrine, So until black people can put away those doctrines, we can't come together as a people. Everybody else come together as a people, not as a religion. You know what I'm saying? Even the Jews, a lot of people are Jewish by birth, not Jewish by religion. A lot of Jews are atheists. They don't practice Judaism. They just claim the race. But black people, they haven't figured that part out yet. We still got a religion that's from our slave master. You know what I'm saying? So until we get rid of that, we always gonna be in a position of being oppressed. And I don't know why people haven't woke up and smelled the coffee yet. But that's the reason why we doing this show.
Deion Sanders, man, he's a pastor, but now he's questioning the validity of his religion. I seen like a little video where they had like a little thing, and I don't mean to keep bringing up Mo 3, but the reason why I am bringing this up, because I see a lot of people that still ain't, like you said, ain't woke up, smelled the coffee. I'm like, all this death and destruction, especially within the black community. We are the most religious people, but yet we are the poorest people. We have the most poverty. We have the baddest health. We have the highest crime rate. We have the, teen pregnancies up. And, yet we are the most religious people. We believe in this Jesus character is going to come save us. But why is there no churches in the white community? Why is there only churches and liquor stores and gun stores in the black community? Because they know it's a detrimental tool that's going to keep us oppressed. Why, I just don't understand, and a lot of these rappers, they rap about they fear in God and stuff. Yeah, go ahead.
I said the church is doing exactly what it's designed to do. It's keeping the black people exactly where they at. And where they been at for the last 2,000 years. But let's talk about this Jesus, man, because I have that debate with a lot of people that almost want to find their way out of Christianity, but for some reason they still want to believe that Jesus was a real person or something. And I done enough research to where I pretty much convinced myself that Jesus definitely was a myth. So I figure I just share this information with the people, man. First of all, I don't know, like even when I was a believer, I felt uncomfortable calling Jesus Jesus, because I knew for a fact that if he was a real person, he didn't call himself that. So I don't know why Christians feel so comfortable to call Jesus Jesus. First of all, the letter J wasn't invented until the 16th century, like sometime in the 15th,
18th, actually, with Champollion. It was Champollion coming in with the Rosetta Stone. Talking about he translated the Rosetta Stone into, you know, that's where you get the a lot of the Greek and stuff like that from. So yeah, that's when Champollion came along and created the letter J, because it made a H sound. It made a ha, you know, it made a H sound. Right. So not a J sound.
And then they say Jesus' original name was Yahshua ben Yahweh, if that was a real person. But my whole thing is, even if this Yahshua character existed, he didn't perform the miracles, he didn't get crucified, he wasn't resurrected, so therefore he's not the same person as the Jesus of the Bible. If Jesus was based off of this character, that's one thing, but that still makes Jesus a myth.
Facts.
Yeah, man. So
it's like the movie Django. It's like the movie Django. You know, Django was basically based off the Buffalo Soldiers. One of the Buffalo Soldiers, I forgot his name, but Django's not a real person. But the guy that they're portraying is a real person. So that's what I'm saying. This Jesus character is being portrayed as a real person based off of an actual real person, when Jesus is just a character. So I even try to get Christians to look at it from that angle. You know, I said, look at Rosewood, another Buffalo Soldier. You know what I'm saying? Look at Django, Buffalo Soldier. You know what I'm saying? So Django's not real, but the Buffalo Soldiers were. You know what I'm saying? So they don't understand that concept. They still can't see it, man.
Yeah, it's called, they got a word for it. It's called euhemerism. So basically, a long time ago, I think 3rd century BC, 2nd century BC, somewhere around there, this guy named Euhemerus would take gods that were known to be myths, like Zeus and Thor, Hercules, and then he would write biographies for them as if they were real historical people. And the later readers, I guess some of them actually believed that they were real and historical, but it's a known fact that this guy Euhemerus was making this stuff up. So if it can be done to Zeus, it can be done to Jesus. And then you got to look at the similarities in all of these guys. So we got two possibilities. Either Jesus was, or three possibilities really. Either it's true, the Bible is true, and Jesus was real and the Son of God, or Jesus was based on a character who did exist but wasn't miraculous, or it was all just a crock of shit and it's all bullshit. So these are the three possibilities. So what we got to do is decipher which one of those is most likely versus least likely. So I argue that the least likely is the one that, you know, that everybody believed that Jesus was miraculous and he actually existed.
Yeah, like I was arguing with my friend, you know, he always resorted to the Bible, but he never even gave me no historical facts outside of it. And see, that's the thing, we have an issue with Christians and Hebrew Israelite people that practice religion regardless. All their history and evidence is in the book. It's not outside. There is nothing outside of the book that base it. Now, I was listening to Brother Garfield. There was a guy named Jesus ben Atheist that was crucified by Pontius Pilate. You know what I'm saying? So you got Jesus, which is how you say Jesus' name in Spanish, Jesus. So he probably was based off of Jesus ben Atheist, and this was the guy that was calling himself a prophet and all this other stuff. And that was during the time of Pontius Pilate. But they even got Josephus even got some stuff out. You know, even though we can't really trust his information so per se, but there's information out saying that Jesus ben Atheist was claiming himself as a prophet, and Pontius Pilate never knew Jesus. You know what I'm saying? Like King Herod never had a slaughter of the innocents.
Yeah, so that stuff is historical.
So how we get this Jesus character when there was no such thing as a slaughter of the innocents? Even Josephus even said, even though he had issues with King Herod, now Josephus and King Herod was around the same time. You know what I'm saying? Because Josephus died in 37 CE or something like that, a little after the Common Era. So, you know, and you know, he didn't know Jesus, you know what I'm saying? So all this stuff was, he was born after Jesus supposedly died, you know what I'm saying? So, but he knew some, I don't know, but the thing is, there was no slaughter of the innocent. And Joseph was a real good record keeper, so he would have recorded that if it was true. So
yeah, a lot of people like to point to Josephus, but they don't realize that first of all, Josephus wasn't a contemporary of Jesus. So even if he was writing about Jesus, he didn't write about firsthand accounts. He was writing about stories that other people told about Jesus, because he came some 30 years after Jesus, 40 years after Jesus,
37,
supposedly living. And then the one mention that he had that's actually fact. It says that a dude named James is the brother of our Lord Jesus. But what people don't realize is that during that time in the first century, brother of our Lord was basically what Christians called themselves. So all he's saying is that this dude James was a Christian, not that he was technically related to any Jesus or anything.
Right.
So we literally have no extra biblical evidence for the existence of Jesus. And matter of fact, the only evidence that we do have come from the Gospels. So what are the Gospels? We got 4 Gospels, right? But 3 of them are revisions of Mark. So we really only got 1 Gospel. We got the Gospel of Mark, which was written 20 years after Paul started writing. So now we're talking about 2-3 generations after so-called life of Jesus that we have the first writings about Jesus. That's not history, you know what I'm saying? And then we got to go by what we know for a fact. So we know the Sumerians had a dying and resurrecting god named Inanna, and the Romans had a dying and resurrecting god named Romulus, and the Egyptians had a dying and resurrecting god named Osiris, and then we got Zamoxilus and all these other guys that
Dionysus, Mithra.
Yeah, Mithra. All these guys that did the same thing that Jesus was claimed to do, but they predate Jesus by like 3,000 years. And nobody believes that these gods actually existed. So if Jesus actually existed, he would be an anomaly. You know, he would be a wild exception of a case, because he fits right in with these other myths.
Right. You know, he mainly fits in with Zoroaster, you know what I'm saying? I think far as the look go, you know, how Zoroaster looks, I think he fits in with it, and the God of the Bible fits in with Zeus. You know what I'm saying, with the beard, and, you know, and he's basically European, you know, and a lot of black people's not even seeing the fact that, because there's still a white Jesus in most churches that I visited even recently. So, you know, it's still a picture of a white Jesus, and I'm just like, I had to walk back out, because it's just like heartbreaking to see that shit. You know what I'm saying? You got a white Jesus above the preacher, and they ever talking about our Lord, and you'll point and say, this is our Savior, not knowing that your Savior looks like your oppressor.
Yeah, man. I mean, I wish people would study the history, man, because in these times when these savior gods was being created, it was a cultural thing. You know, every culture had their own savior god. The Egyptians had Osiris, the Romans had Romulus, but then somehow thousands of years later, we're not worshiping a black savior god. You know, why we don't have a god that represents our culture? We have a god that represents the culture of the people who enslaved our ancestors. That's ass backwards and crazy as hell.
Yeah, but you know what, they do care, because God don't see color. But yeah, that's the go-to line right there for them.
I mean, that's the mind fuck though, because if your God don't see color, why everybody else God do? And why your people, the people that's getting their ass kicked all over the planet, talking about God don't see color?
Yeah, you know, another thing I want to bring up when it talks about Asar, you know what I'm saying, Osiris or whatever, you know, he was the first god, you know, that's been proven that he was the first god of resurrection, because you know the story that he was favored by his sisters, and don't they sound kind of that sound kind of strange, because God was favored by was it Abel? So if you look at the Cain and Abel story, it comes from the Asar and Set story, because Set and Nephis favored Osiris, and Set got jealous. You know what I'm saying? So Set killed his brother. So that was the Cain and Abel story right there. And see, a lot of people don't even look at that either. You know what I'm saying? So it's been the same.
Those stories do exist. They already existed. So we got the Epic of Gilgamesh that had the creation story, the flood story, and this is not new. So like when you study the history, it becomes evident that this is what they do. It's a common thing for them to go into other cultures, take parts of the religion that already exists, and blend it in with the religion that they have, so that the people that they're invading will accept the religion. So we got like examples of this in real time, because we seen that happen during World War II with the cargo corps when they were shipping spam and all these military supplies to these remote islands, and they actually had people, anthropologists, that were recording this while it was happening. And when they started recording it, all these people were claiming to have like religions and I mean revelations and stuff. But 30 years later, all that revelation stuff went out the window, and the story became that some dude named John Frum, who never existed, brought these teachings. But we know for a fact that didn't happen because we had people there recording what was happening at the time. So we got an example of this exact scenario happening in real time. So there's no reason why it couldn't have happened 2,000 years ago.
Yeah, and people got to look at it like this: how you gonna die? How you gonna die at the age of 33 but be dead in the year 30?
Yeah, they don't.
Yeah, you 33 when you died, but you died in the year 30. So you died. So your lifespan was older than the century that you was in.
Yeah, he was born before he was born, and before he was born. So don't BC mean before Christ? But how Jesus gonna be born in 3 BC? That don't make no sense. But that if you look it up, that's what they say. It's gonna say he was born in 3 BC. It's fucking crazy.
Yeah, because and you know, I always ask Christians this, especially on Facebook, and I even asked my buddy that I was supposed to bring him to the show today. I said, was Jesus born in 4 BCE or in 6 CE? Because you got the book of Matthew 2 say he was born around the time of King Herod, and we already know that was false because King Herod didn't even know of Jesus to even kill him or try to look for him to kill him. Then you got the census of Caesar Augustus, which is 6 CE, you know what I'm saying, which is 10 years apart. So how you gonna have 2 birthdays 10 years apart?
Exactly. But this is the importance of doing the research yourself, you know what I'm saying, and actually studying and not just believing what the preacher man tell you.
Yeah, so and like I said, like we talked about in our little pre-discussion, it's really a book of astrology. I know I mentioned on the last show we was on about the sun dying and rising, appear in the sky. The astrological phenomenons is what they base their religions off of. A lot of people, every culture around the world looked at the sun as God, and a lot of people don't know that. So they based and the constellation was the astronomical figures like Scorpio, and they created all these constellations based off of their and their beliefs in I guess some kind of energy that, like, okay, so I heard a lot of conscious people talking about, we're in retrograde. That's why a lot of black people are having this. So they believe in this astronomical phenomenon that's causing black people to have a bad time or something like that, or it's a weird time because of it's in retrograde. Now, we might be in a retrograde, but I doubt that has anything to do with our demise or what's going on with us. But a lot of people strongly believed this back in the ancient times, and they looked at the stars and stuff like that, because they even created a calendar based off of the constellations and stuff like that. That's how they got the stellar calendar in ancient Egypt, which is over 50,000 years old, which is the first calendar. So when you read the Bible, I'm gonna give an example from the Bible, Luke 22:10, where and I'm paraphrasing for the audience. I guess one of the disciples, no, I ain't gonna say I guess, but one of the disciples asked Jesus, "What shall we do when you're gone? When shall the next Passover be?" And Jesus replied, said, "You'll see a man going to the city. You'll see a man carrying a pitcher of water going to the next house." Now, when you look at the constellations, now the sun arises in Aquarius. So, but Jesus, what that verse in Luke was talking about was Aquarius, because when you look back at ancient time, there was no men carrying pitchers of water on their head. It was women. Mm-hmm. So who was they talking about? They weren't talking about a man actually carrying a pitcher of water. They were talking about Aquarius, and they talking about the sun. The sun was saying, okay, he's going to die at 33. Now, when the sun enters a new constellation every 2,600 years, because the earth wobbles on its axis every 26,000 years, it's called the precession of the equinox. Mm-hmm. So the sun is going to appear to rise in another constellation. And it's not because the sun moves, it's because the earth moves. It's wobbling on its axis. So right now, where we're at in the solar system, we're seeing the sun rise in Aquarius. And when the sun enter into a new age or a new constellation, it enters the constellation at 33 degrees. That's why Masonry has that number 33 is very important to astrology and the Bible. 33 degrees. If you look at the court system, the podium is 33 inches above you. So everything is dealing with 33. You know what I'm saying? That's why Jesus died at 33. You know what I'm saying? Rose the third day. Why is these number 3, 12, 7? You know what I'm saying? It's a bunch of numerology in the Bible people don't even actually see, because in Psalms 84:11, it states, for the Lord God is a S-U-N, a son, you know what I'm saying, with healing in his wings. In some translations of the Bible said with healing in his rays. And I don't see how people looking over that. You know, you go to school on Sunday, you go to sunrise service, you go to Sunday school. Why is everything surrounding the sun? Is God the Son? You know,
Jesus is the Son personified. They just don't realize
yeah,
that.
Jesus, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So just like
exactly
the same reason why Christmas is on the 25th, because of, the winter solstice starts on the 21st, and then when the sun appears to stop, and then 3 days later on the 24th on the 24th it begins to move again. So it's like the sun dies for 3 days, stops moving, then it starts to move again. And if the Bible don't say nothing about Jesus being born on December 25th, but we know that this happens to the sun and during the winter solstice, and we also know that people were worshiping the sun and celebrating this holiday for thousands of years before Christianity. Clearly, Jesus is a representation of the sun.
And he also says that he's a bright morning star, and the sun is considered a star, and it comes up in the morning. So, no matter how much I stress this to my mom, my immediate family. Now, my baby sister, I think she might wake up. I think she's getting a little hang of like, this starting to make sense, because she's still in college. And most people at the 20s, a lot of people are lacking beliefs in it, but it's still people our age that's still stuck on stupid and ride on silly. So, but yeah, the whole Christianity thing is based off of astrology. It is a book of astrology. If you look at the Bible, for people out there that don't know, challenge you to Google Helios Biblica. Just put in Helios Biblica, and it will talk about it will say it's the Holy Bible. It means the Greek sun records. It's the Greek sun book. That's what the Bible is. Instead of the Bible saying in the beginning, it should say once upon a time. That's in my opinion. That's what it should have started out saying, once upon a time. You know what I'm saying? Instead of in the beginning.
It would have been more obvious that it was a fable.
Yeah, exactly. So because like in another scripture I want to bring up, and I know Christians probably, why are you using the Bible? Why are you using the Bible? I get that all the time. Well, I'm trying to, I'll be like, I'm trying to help you see the Bible for what it is and not for what you think it is. So if you read Galatians chapter 4, 22 through 25, it talks about the Bible being an allegory. And how you gonna still believe the Bible is true when it's written in the Bible that the Bible is an allegory?
It does. It said plainly and clearly that this is allegory, and then it tells you that we wrote it because we want you to believe it. It says that right there in the Bible. But people, they never read that verse in church, and they just, like, if you read it yourself for some reason, people just glance right over.
Yeah. See, those are the Bible. And in the next show, I know this is probably a little too early to talk about, but I want to talk about verses that. The topic I want to talk about, verses that the preacher will not tell you in church. So I want to do that on the next show. I want to kind of like save a little bit, you know what I'm saying, and not give too much out on this show. But that's the next topic I want to see if we can talk about doing, and hopefully we can bring some Christians on.
Yeah, that's a good topic. We could definitely do that one next time.
Yeah. So back to the sun, back to the book of the Bible being Helios Biblica. In ancient times, the Greeks. They had a sun god called Helios. You know what I'm saying? It was before any other deity that they created, because the sun was the first thing that they see. And, like Pegasus, Zeus, Hercules, those are all constellations. A lot of people don't understand, because Pegasus was, who was that Greek god that rode Pegasus? I don't want to say Kratos, because that comes from the god of war, but Kratos in the god of war did ride a horse bird called Pegasus, and that's a constellation. You know what I'm saying? The Hubble Space Telescope is actually focusing on that constellation, because what is it like? There's like a water world out there or something like that. They got a sun. And there's also a planet that orbits the star at like 20,000 miles from the star, and it's called Osiris. You don't know if you've seen that. It's called Osiris. In that constellation, they actually saw a planet, a Jupiter-sized planet in the Pegasus constellation that's circling the star and is making the star wobble. It's called Osiris. So I'm like, why are these planets being named after deities? Why are the constellations being named after deities? You know what I'm saying? Sagittarius is the archer. If you read Revelations 1:7, and during the time of supposed Jesus, he got pierced in his side. So in November, they looked at the sun, and Sagittarius points his arrow at the sun, piercing him in his side. See what I'm saying? So I know people probably missed it. I think it's supposed to be today or tomorrow or yesterday. I think it's the 21st. So if you're really a stargazer and you see the sun rise, you'll see Sagittarius next to the sun, piercing him in his side. So Sagittarius was from what I studied and from what I've learned from Dr. Eshar Kweli, Ray Hagins and stuff, they talk about Sagittarius being the one that pierced the sun in his side. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, if you got one of those, you can download this Google Earth and you'll see where all the constellations are, and you'll see where the sun is too. I think that's an easier way to actually, show my proof. You know what I'm saying, that I'm not lying to you. But every autumn or fall or autumn equinox, the sun gets pierced in its side by Sagittarius. Not by these Romans and nothing like that. It was by Sagittarius.
Yeah, the Earth is the only planet in our solar system that's not named after a god. Mars is the name of a war god. Pluto, Jupiter, Saturn, Venus, these are all names of ancient gods that the ancients, like you said, they used to worship things in the sky. So they saw these planets behaving differently than the stars. So they would move in different ways. So they looked at them as their equivalent to what they thought were gods, and they gave them names. And we just kind of kept that trend going. So I think that's kind of why they naming the planets that they discover after gods. Some of them, they don't bother to do that. They just give them like a number, Kepler 187b and all that stuff. But most of them are named after gods. And I think it's just out of tradition at this point. But back in the day, it was because they thought that these things had some type of special power because they were moving differently than all the stars.
And they felt like something was it was like disturbing the energy of the earth or something like that, or disturbing, because our body's 70% water, so the moon actually tugs on our bodies. Like they say, when it's a full moon, everybody's fighting. And a lot of people don't understand that the moon represents a goddess. You know what I'm saying? The sun is the god and the moon represents a goddess. Who was that? Aset? I think she was moon goddess or something like that. Asar and Aset. Yeah, so I think, no, it's Ra. Actually, the sun god Ra, and then the moon is a goddess or something like that. So a lot of people, that's why when you look at the Muslim, when you look at the Muslim flag or the Muslim logo, it's a moon and a star. So you got Aset and Ra. You know what I'm saying? Because Aset, at the time of the story, Aset asked for the help of Ra to find her husband. All the 14 pieces. You know what I'm saying? And then number 14 is very important too. You know what I'm saying? It's in the Bible. How many kids did Job have? Like 14 kids, and his wife made 15, and that's when Lucifer caused a big storm to kill all 14 of his kids, including his wife. You know what I'm saying? That number. Why it's and it's always dealing with calves, the golden calf and all this stuff, and the celebration of Aset and stuff like it. Just a lot of people's not really looking at this stuff from a broad perspective. Why they got the golden calf and the book of Exodus, and Moses had to go kill everybody. You know what I'm saying? West Exodus 32. See what I'm saying? So it's I don't know, Kweli. I just don't know how we can actually break this down, because it's like their mind is locked, tidally locked.
I mean, I guess religion. We just you know what I'm saying? Back. What I try to do is I try to lead people down the path that I went down, because I figure if I went down a certain path and I got convinced and I was a Christian, I was believing, and I found my way out of it, I just try to start people, meet them where they at, and lead them down the same path that I went down, and maybe they'll come to the same conclusion that I came to. So the first red flag for me with Christianity was that I was black and Jesus was white. And that just kind of seemed weird to me. You know what I'm saying? Like, how is Jesus white? And we know, okay, this story took place in the northern Africa, Middle Eastern area where there were no white people. But this blue-eyed, straight-haired white man is supposed to be Jesus. So that's what got me initially started researching. And then once I started researching, I realized that the Bible wasn't a one-of-a-kind piece of work, that it was other books that predated the Bible that mirrored the Bible like almost identically. So if we got the tales about Osiris, and they talking about this dude 3000 BC, but everything in Osiris's life looked almost identical to what they say about Jesus, obviously these ain't the same two different people that just live the same life. That's impossible. So somebody's copying
It's
off these
like,
stories.
yeah, and it's like, I break it down like this. We got to remember the Simpsons in the late 80s, early 90s, right?
Right.
So the Simpsons lasted for a pretty good while, you know what I'm saying? They still come on now, but I think it's just a lot of old episodes. Then you got 1997. What show came out that mirrors the Simpsons? Family Guy. Right. You got a big fat daddy. Homer Simpson was fat. His name is Homer. You got Peter, you know what I'm saying? Got a wife named Lois, and then you got Marge. Then you got a baby, and you got two sons and a daughter. But in this one, you got in the Simpsons, you got two daughters and a son. So they mirroring each other in a way. But except the Simpsons, they had two daughters and a son, and then in Family Guy, they got two sons and a daughter, but they still got a baby. You know what I'm saying? The baby was, Lisa was the smart one. So I guess Lisa was supposed to be Meg and Stewie. You know what I'm saying? Bart supposed to be Stewie, and I don't know, it's weird, but when you look at those shows, they mimic each other, they mirror each other. Right. They're just told a different way.
Yeah, it's the same thing that they do with the Bible. So back to the Euhemerus. You know what I'm saying? Euhemerus was a Greek writer, historical. He was a sort of a historian, but he wrote fiction. So he made up shit about Zeus and Hercules and stuff, and wrote it as if it was true, and taught it as if it was true. But they referred to it as sacred scripture, the same way they do the Bible now. They refer to it as sacred scripture. But Euhemerus was writing in about 300 BC. So certain religious groups teach these as the truth. And then we got people that teach religion. A professor named Kurt Knoll, he proposes that this was done in order to easily control the doctrine. So, and nobody in the future can come in, because back then people used to claim they have revelations. So they say, I got a message from Jesus, or it came to me in a dream. And what happened was the same way Paul did. He said, I got a revelation from Jesus, and he changed his mind about some stuff. And they didn't want that to keep happening. So basically Paul said that he has his connection to Jesus through these people that actually met Jesus, these disciples. So if you have a revelation, it's not worth the same as my revelation, because mine's coming from people who actually met Jesus. The problem is Paul didn't meet anybody who knew Jesus. It was a whole lifetime separating them, 50 years. So the lifespan back then, the life expectancy of anybody who made it to adulthood was 48. So if Jesus died in the year 30 and you writing about him in the year 70, that's almost a whole generation, a whole lifespan that went by without nobody writing about him. So Paul was an outsider, and he comes on talking about he got a revelation from Jesus and claiming that he had this historical connection because other people met Jesus and nobody after that could have it. So why would they do that? Because there were more than one sect of Christianity, and some of those sects of Christianity didn't preach that Jesus was a historical person. And I'm talking about in the first century. So we're in the first century, and you got competing doctrines, and some of them are saying that Jesus didn't exist. Then clearly it's up for debate back then. So it takes away from credence that Jesus was historical, and not to mention the fact that he's already being mirrored by the sun and all these other ancient gods and stuff. So it's just not looking good for the historicity of Jesus.
No, it's not. Yeah, then you've got the early church with Martin Luther and stuff like that. Then you got the Council of Nicaea, you know what I'm saying, really making this shit a fairy tale. I don't know if you read the Nicene Creed, and I think it's like a long one-page doctrine, but one of the priests said that the way they canonized the Bible was they all put the books on the table, and whatever books landed on the floor get burnt away, and the ones that stayed on top of the table gets put in the canon of the Bible. And I say, what? So then and a lot, back to Paul, a lot of his writing was like 65 CE, you know what I'm saying. You got the book of Matthew, that was like 70 80 CE. Revelations is actually the youngest revelation, and there is a correlation with Apollo. in Revelations. You know what I'm saying? The Greek god Apollo, where God wrestling sea monsters and all this other stuff. So you got all these writings that came later after this supposedly historical Jesus and stuff like that. So where are they getting this secondhand information from? They're not getting the secondhand information because, so what?
So they making it up.
They're making it up. Yeah, they have to make it up because nobody was there actually writing the shit down. Who had pen and paper during the time of Jesus? Nobody. Because you got to look at it like this, papyrus. Yeah, so.
Yeah, it's actually.
Anybody had a pen and
They actually covered up a lot of that stuff too. You know what I'm saying? I think they did it because they want to only have one version of Christianity look like it was always being taught, but they don't know. They don't want you to know that it was all these competing versions of Christianity, and a lot of them were very, very different. Like the Philo of Alexandria, for example, he wrote about a Jesus before Paul, and his Jesus was an archangel that never came to earth and got crucified by Satan on the moon. But then you got Paul writing about him the same way, except he says that the crucifixion happened on earth. But this guy, Philo of Alexandria, wrote it first, and he wrote of Jesus as not a real person, but just an angel, like a spirit, and that never came to earth. And you got the exact same story being told about Osiris. So you had some people teaching that Osiris wasn't a real figure and he never came to earth. But then you had later on people saying, okay, he was a real figure. So the exact same thing that happened to Osiris 2,000 years later happened to Jesus. And then you got
yeah, you know, I don't mean to cut you off, but I want to elaborate on that Osiris story. Osiris was basically, you know what I'm saying, when you actually break Osiris down, he was the god of resurrection. And what happens during the spring? Everything resurrects, right? Mm-hmm. So that's where you get the whole Easter story. Because during the spring, everything dies. A lot of people don't realize when you have the autumn equinox, when you're in the autumn equinox when you're on the zodiac, you're in the autumn equinox. So we're still in autumn. We're not in winter yet because winter solstices don't start to December 21st, so we're still in the autumn. Right. Everything dying, the leaves die, and all this other stuff. And everything is green. Why you think Asar was depicted as a green figure? Because he represents the foliage. He represents the foliage being dead. You know what I'm saying? And then he dies through the whole winter because everything turns white. So white represents death and purity. So then come around the spring equinox. Everything starts to resurrect. The sun is getting brighter. The earth, everything is starting to wake up again. So that's basically the whole death and resurrection story. So that's why they have the whole death and resurrection story around Easter, which is the goddess Esther or Istar. You know what I'm saying? She was a fertility goddess. And the bunny rabbits. That's when they start seeing the animals come out of hibernation. That's what that was all about. Go ahead,
you brought that up, man. I'm gonna tell you a story, bro. I ain't gonna name the company because fuck them. That's why. But I used to work for this bullshit ass retail place, right? And I was working the register one day, and it just happened to be Easter, and I don't celebrate the shit, so I'm going to work to get that time and a half. So I was at work. This lady come in there and she like, "Happy Easter." I was like, "No, thank you, I don't celebrate it." And she was like, "Well, happy Passover." And I was like, "Nah." She was like, she got like. The look on her face, she was terrified just because I told her I didn't celebrate Easter or Passover. She was so scared. She tried to leave out the store, but she walked the wrong way. And she walked deeper back into the store and just like,
that's crazy.
I don't know what to do. She turned around, ran out. I'm like, what the hell wrong with this lady? Like, you don't want to believe in the fairy tale, lady. But yeah, man, you're right. It's all about spring. So people worshiping Easter and Christmas, not knowing that these are pagan belief systems. So you really worshiping the turn of the season. So the goddess of fertility, that's why you got the Easter bunny, because rabbits are what? Very fertile. So what the hell did the Easter bunny got to do with Jesus? Nothing, but a bunny got a lot to do with fertility. And then people don't know that back in the day, the Easter egg hunt used to be they used to have women get naked and they used to throw paint on them and have them run into the woods, and they would go and hunt them and have sex with them. That's what it
was a rape holiday to me. It's a rape holiday. It's a rape culture
that you letting your kids participate in symbolically, not knowing what the hell you doing.
Exactly. And you know, I got a 4-year-old daughter, you know what I'm saying, and I told my ex-wife, no, I did not want her celebrating no Hallows Eve. I tried to even break it down the story. She's not listening. She's still on the good ship Jesus. I said, I only want them celebrating Easter because it's a pagan rape culture holiday. but they not listening. They want the Easter egg basket, you know what I'm saying? They want all. I'm like, man, it's commercialized too, you know what I'm saying? So that's why if people want to do it, because it's commercialized, you know what I'm saying? And they pass this shit off as true, and that's the sad part about it. This fairy tale belief system, and a lot of people don't understand that Passover is when the sun passes over. I mean, come on, it's very self-explanatory. Passover. I don't need to explain more, but it's Passover.
It's as pagan as it get, man. And when you actually get to the science behind it, and you compare Christianity to pagan religions, you see the resemblance. You go, oh damn, this ain't nothing but sun worship. That's all Christianity is, man. Sun worship personified and embellished upon.
Because then I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna rewind real quick. Emperor Constantine, wasn't it called? The reason why the worship of the sun was on the seventh day, it was called All Emperors Day, but then that's when Constantine said, "No, we're gonna call it Sunday worship." So that whole Sunday worship was Emperor Constantine. Instead of calling it All Emperors Day, he just said, we're just gonna call it. We're gonna call it the worship of God on Sunday, because the seventh day he worshiped. He sat and he rested. You know what I'm saying? So, and that's another thing. I said, why God needs rest? I mean, God did all this work for 6 days. So that means, what's the concept of having a break at work then? If we got to work 6 days straight with no break, kick my feet up and just take a break for a minute. But, just a little side joke. But yeah, man, they don't understand. Like when it comes to Easter Sunday, that's why I say Easter Sunday. And have you noticed? I know you noticed this, but a lot of Christians ain't noticed this. Why does Jesus's death is on different days of the year, but his birth was the same day of the year?
Because it ain't got nothing to do with it.
That should be a red flag right there. That should be a red flag. Okay.
Yeah. But people don't think like that. They not trying to think like that. They just want to believe.
Mm-hmm. For those out there, for those Christians, Hebrew Israelites that listen to this story, look at the calendar and tell me and call in and ask us, why does Jesus' death and resurrection is in different days a year every year? I remember one year it was in March. It's like March 30th.
Yeah, how you gonna die in different?
It's like March 30th.
Yeah, you're not celebrating for real. You're celebrating the turn of the season, man. It's just spring equinox.
Exactly.
That's what they call it.
Exactly. So it should have really been April 21st, because that's when the equinoxes happened. But it happened, but his death and resurrection happened before the equinox. So I mean, it would make more sense if they had his death on. They basically celebrated his death on the 21st, because the 21st is the mid month anyway. But like I said, Christians don't understand. They are like, Mom, celebrating Easter on March 30th, Mama. Y'all celebrating Easter on April 8th, Mama. Why y'all celebrate Easter on April 10th? Every other year is different. I said, Mama, have you thought about this? Like, Jesus got 4 different death dates. Like, how you gonna die in 4 different days? How you gonna die each day of the week? Like, 2 different months. You died last month. Now you dying this month on this day, that day.
What day did he die? When did he actually die? Let's celebrate. Pick a day. And we're going to celebrate. If he died on April 4th, then we're going to celebrate on April 4th every year. But as a believer, you should be fighting for that. And I don't understand how you can claim to believe in this stuff, and you claim that you celebrating the death of Jesus, but you're going to do it on a different day every year.
Hey, if you got a calendar with you, you got a calendar. You think you can look up a calendar reform? Because I don't want to, like, if I go.
Yeah, I can bring it up
off this live. I mean, if I go look up. Yeah, bring it up, because it'll end my live. So. But yeah, man, see when they celebrating Easter this year, because what it is, they try to keep it on a Sunday. Why they trying to keep it on a Sunday? That should be another light bulb going off in your head.
So it's gonna be on.
They April try 4th. To keep it on Sunday.
In 2021.
I thought he died April 10th. I thought it was the 10th. What the fuck? Last year it was what?
And last year, let me see. Last year was April 12th.
Oh my goodness. Christians, this don't ring, the light bulb should have went off in your head right about now.
On 2019,
please call it to the show.
April 21st.
On the equinox.
That's crazy, man. So let's get to the facts though.
No light bulb.
For a fact.
All right, let's go.
We got Paul writing the epistles, but we know for a fact that only 7 of the epistles are considered to actually be from Paul. The rest of them are forgeries, and that's from Christian historians who said that only 7 of them are authentic and the rest of them are forgeries. And not only that, but they were written in the 50s of the first century. So they're not contemporary with the life of Jesus. And these epistles only speak of Jesus as a celestial being and revealing gospel, not as a true person. So the earliest writings about Jesus don't talk about him as a historical figure. And then we got the Gospels, which were written decades later, and they weren't written as history, but they were also written as fiction. And the subsequent historicity of Jesus is based entirely on those Gospels. So everything that people try to say Jesus did is based on the Gospels. But when they wrote the Gospels, they weren't writing them as fact; they were writing them as fiction. And then we know, like I said before, we only really got one Gospel because Matthew, Luke, and John were all revisions of Mark. So Mark is the only true gospel that we have, and it came 20 years after Paul.
And it's the oldest too.
Yeah. So
it's the oldest gospel in the New Testament. Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
So technically, we only got the one gospel in these revisions. So to recap, the only evidence we have for Jesus is the Gospel of Mark, which appears to be entirely fictional. And all the evidence we got from the first 2 generations of Christianity's development was conveniently destroyed. So most likely because the earliest versions didn't depict Jesus as a real person. And they were trying to change that doctrine and to make Jesus a real person like they did with Osiris and Romulus and Zalmoxis and Adonis centuries before. Mm-hmm. And then we got the 2nd century writings that reflect the unknown 1st century. We don't know if they... Because they destroyed these writings, we don't know if the 2nd century writings accurately reflect what these Christians were believing because they destroyed them. So the first writings we have are that of Paul and Mark, and we have no idea how accurate they were to what the earlier Christians were believing because they destroyed what the earlier Christians were believing. But we do know for a fact that there were a lot of different versions of these Gospels, including 6 different versions of the book of Acts. But all of them didn't make it into the final version of the Bible. You know, it took centuries and centuries for them to cultivate this book into a final version. And we're still getting different versions of it. Mm-hmm. So
exactly. You got 52 versions of it, yo.
We got
modern versions. You got 52 of
them. We already talked about the other guys, but let me just recap for the people. And the phone number on the screen, y'all can call it in if y'all disagree, if you agree, whatever you want to add your 2 cents, call it in. So we had Osiris, who was an Egyptian god, and he was believed to have victory over death, which he shared with his followers through baptism. Sound familiar? And Osiris predates Christianity by over 3,000 years. So to believe that Christianity didn't borrow this aspect from Osiris is retarded. So then we got Adonis, who is a resurrected god from Syria. Then we got Romulus, who died and resurrected, but he was a Roman god, but he also had a suffrage or a passion. They used to call it a pantheon, and they used to act it out in Rome as a play every year. So just like we got the Passion of Christ movie, they used to do that as a play for this guy Romulus. And then we got Zalmoxis, who was significant because every Greek writer knew about Zalmoxis. And what were the Gospels originally written in? Greek. So whoever wrote Mark, which wasn't Mark, because it's the gospel according to Mark, and you can't write a gospel according to your damn self. You'd have just said by Mark.
Yeah, exactly.
So whoever wrote Mark wrote it in Greek, and we know. So back then, if you were writing, you had to be pretty much very educated. Everybody wasn't literate. Everybody didn't know how to read and write. The only people who knew how to read and write were people that went to college, pretty much, or the equivalent of college back then. And if you were Greek going to college, you had to learn about Zalmoxis because it was in the curriculum. It's like going to school today and not knowing algebra. You can't do it. You got to learn algebra if you want to go to geometry, you know? So they obviously, the person who wrote Mark knew about this person Zalmoxis. And Zalmoxis is a splitting image of Jesus. So he goes back to the 6th century BC, years before Christianity. Then we got Inanna, which is the oldest Sumerian goddess, and ironically, she was female. So the first dying and resurrecting god we got was a female, but she was said to be the daughter of God. And this is significant because she was actually crucified and nailed up and resurrected 3 days later. So we got all these parallels from all these other gods that we know for a fact weren't real. So if Jesus was real, that's why I said it would make him an anomaly. You know what I'm saying? It would make him it's so far-fetched that he would fit all these parallels with all these fake people and be real, because none of these people were real. So then we had the Persians that had Mithra, and the Egyptians had Osiris, the Romans had Romulus, Sumerians had Inanna. All of these guys have shared characteristics. They offer eternal happiness after death. They were claimed to be either the son or daughter of God, but never claimed to be the God himself, always the child of God. They all experience some sort of pantheon or suffrage, and they all overcome death, and they pass that gift on to whoever follows them. And they all have stories about them that were told to be taking place on earth, although none of them were actually real. So Jesus fits into that category perfectly. So he would be an extreme anomaly if he actually existed. So this suggests that Jesus was made up just like all of these other guys. And then we got 2 Peter 2:16 that states that, for we did not follow cleverly devised stories when we told you about the coming of our Lord Jesus Christ in power, but we were eyewitnesses of his majesty. The problem is, religious scholars refer to 2 Peter as a forgery. So it wasn't actually written by Peter. It was written later on by somebody else claiming to be Peter, obviously trying to add some to back up this doctrine of Christianity. So this proves that there were some sects of Christianity that taught that Jesus was a myth, because you had people forging these books like 2 Peter that were arguing against him, saying, nah, he's not a myth. So why would they write that unless there was people saying that he was a myth? And we're talking about 1st and 2nd century. You had people arguing that Jesus was a myth. At the same time the Gospels were being written, you had the writings of the ascension of Isaiah, which a lot of Christians, they don't read, so they don't know about the ascension of Isaiah. But it basically tells the story of Jesus getting crucified in outer space by Satan. So for those stories to predate what we know as the story of Jesus, and we know about the ancient gods that Jesus mirrors, it's not, like I said, it's not looking good for Jesus' historicity. It's looking like he was a myth.
Yep.
And we got the writings of Paul. We got Paul allegedly wrote Galatians, Corinthians, 1 Corinthians. And in these writings, he never mentions Jesus preaching. He never mentions Jesus having a ministry. He never mentions Jesus having disciples. So according to Paul, Jesus only communicated through scriptures and revelation. So even Paul never claimed to actually have met Jesus in the flesh. He only said that he met Jesus after death, which is crazy. So he never mentions Jesus working on any miracles, being a healer, or teaching, or anything. He never even mentions that anything about apostles. But then we got
exactly, because how you gonna meet somebody after? How you gonna live to tell somebody that you met somebody after you died?
Exactly.
That's just like the book of what's that? Deuteronomy. Where was it Deuteronomy where Moses wrote his own death off? He made his own obituary.
I don't know. Yeah.
Deuteronomy 34, 5, and 6. Yeah, same thing. Kind of sound like the same thing. Shit. Paul was probably crazy, man.
Yeah, but don't it look low? It looked like the same euhemerization that I mentioned earlier. That's what Jesus was looking like. He looked like a myth that they tried to make historical. And then not only that, but we know that we covered up a lot of stuff that they didn't want people to know. So they just got rid of a lot of books like Out of the Canaan and stuff. So Paul is the closest writer we got to the lifetime of Jesus, yet he never mentioned Jesus meeting anybody at all until after his death, which is weird if Jesus was an actual figure.
Because if you look at the birth of Paul was born damn near 100 years after Jesus supposedly lived.
Yeah, I mean,
so how the hell you meet somebody you never?
At the earliest, he could have been writing. That's why I give them the benefit of the doubt, and I give them the earliest date that we could find, which is 70 CE in the first century. It might have been, much later than that, but it definitely wasn't before that. So I go ahead and give it to him. We're gonna say he wrote it in 70 CE. That's still 40 years after the death of Jesus. So you telling me you had an encounter with this dead man 40 years after he died, and nobody before you wrote about him?
No, Christians say he's still alive though. You know, Jesus is the living God, so they say he's still alive. So I'm like, where is he at? But you know, that was just a little side note. But, you know, joke with.
But how?
You know,
if that's the case, you can say that same thing about Osiris.
Yeah. Oh, it's another thing I want to mention. I know. You know, you brought the historicity up. I want to bring in some more astrology. You know, after that, I got to ask some Christians because I can't see the chat, but you can. This you got to look at it like this. At the time that these writings were wrote, it was at the time of Pisces. Now, Pisces is what? 2 fish. Now, how many fish did Jesus use to feed the multitude? 2 fish. Why is why is the fish the symbol for Jesus? Now, the light bulb should be going off in your head for those Christians that's in the chat or whatever. Jesus represents the fish with the cross. You got 5 loaves of bread. So Pisces is from March to April 21st. Count 5 months later, you got Virgo. You know what I'm saying? You got Virgo. So Virgo's the virgin, and Virgo holds up the wheat, the wheat, right? So the house of bread. Virgo's talking about the house of bread. You know, so Virgo goes from August 23rd to September 21st or something like that. So we're getting close to the autumn equinox, stuff like that. See, a lot of people don't even understand how they even play. You know what I'm saying? Jesus. The symbol for Jesus is the fish. Light bulb should go off. 2 fish. Pisces is 2 fish. Jesus fed people with 2 fish, 5 loaves of bread. Come on, man. You know, that's another thing I want to bring up.
Yeah, man.
Because at the time of these writings, it was the time of Pisces. Pisces lasts for 2,000 years. How long Christianity been around? 2,000 years. Now we're in the age of Aquarius. See what I'm saying? So all these writings, the 1st century CE, for when Christianity kind of got started, that was the beginning of Pisces. Because they had exited the age of Taurus, which was the Old Testament, like Moses and all that shit. You know what I'm saying? So that's just my little, you know, y'all can actually research this yourself. You know, I wish I had my laptop. I can actually show you on my laptop, but you know.
Yeah, that shit, man. Well, it looked like
so
we got too many Christians calling in. I thought they were gonna call in. They be running. They be scared, man. Y'all, they love to comment and stay in the comments, but then when I tell them to call in and get on the show, they don't want to call in.
Yeah. Oh, we had one trying to call in, saying they want to call in.
Nah, that's what I'm saying. Did you read the comment that was left on the last episode?
No, I gotta go check that out. I'm gonna check that out. What would it say though?
Let me see.
I'm gonna go look it up, but you know, what did it?
Let me see if I can bring it up for you. But it was some dude, man, talking. I can't even remember what he said. Let me see. (725-222-1179) is the number if you want to call in and add your 2 cents. If you want to help this show reach more people, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe, share it, all that.
Yeah, we gonna go live every Sunday, man. Y'all come check us out, man. It's time for our people to wake up, man. It's time for our people to wake up. You know, all on Facebook. God is good and all this other stuff. Jesus is gonna come back and say, you know how many people died waiting on Jesus? I think people that died that believes in Jesus need to have that on their tombstone when they died waiting for Jesus. I seen that in the meme. And also I seen a meme that says, go ahead.
I'm gonna read you what the comment what bro wrote, and then I'm gonna let you. I already responded to him, but I just want to get your see what you would say to him, because I actually shout out to let me see his name, Bernard Gunting. Shout out to Bernard, because at least he tried. You know, he came with some facts. It was I could understand what he was arguing. Even though I disagree with him, he ain't just. A lot of people come and they just sound like haters. They just want to say, "Oh, you wrong," but they don't have no facts. So at least this Bernard dude came with some facts. So I appreciate that. But basically, what he said was, it's pretty long. Let me try to read it quick. We exist inside a box we cannot get out of. The box is the universe. It is governed by natural laws. So what we do, we investigate what's inside the box / universe by employing the scientific methodology, which is grounded upon the laws of nature. And what facts do we come up with? Fact number 1. The universe consists of space, time, and matter, and therefore is by definition natural, not supernatural, i.e. nature, not supernature. Fact number 2. Nature by definition cannot violate the laws of nature. Fact number 3. Nature, therefore, cannot be eternally old / uncaused. Why? Because for nature to be uncaused violates cause and effect, a law of nature. To believe that nature can violate laws of nature is absurd. Fact number 4. Therefore, nature itself began per cause and effect and must have a cause which must logically be not nature. Why? Because to believe that nature began and was caused by nature is absurd. Science proves that nature, space, time, and matter began and must have a cause which is not nature, so it's spaceless, timeless, and immaterial, which we call God. God, the creator of our space-time universe, logically exists outside of his own creation, i.e. outside of space, which makes him spaceless, and time, which makes him timeless. Being timeless, God never began, and so he has no creator. Why? Because to believe that a timeless God began in time is absurd. And that's the end of it. What you think about that?
Just like I think he was trying to argue that the Kalam cosmetology, Kalam, I don't know, man. It's Cosmo. Yeah, I can. Yeah, tongue twister. Yeah, that's what it sounded like to me. He was trying to revamp the Kalam, man.
Yeah, that's what it is. But so it's a big argument from ignorance. Yeah, Kalam cosmological.
Yeah, arguments. Yeah, I'm like, yeah, he trying to debunk the color. But what I would say to him, I said, okay, so what material? If God is immaterial, then how can an immaterial being materialize a physical universe?
Yep, that is a great question.
That's what I would say.
God is outside of the universe. How can he do anything in the universe? You think God answering prayers and having miracles and all this, but he's supposed to be outside the universe?
Yeah, because an immaterial being somehow can materialize a physical universe. What did God use to create the universe? How can God create a physical universe if he's not physical? You know what I'm saying? There was no Home Depot. I know I said in the last show, there was no Home Depot around or whatever, you know, for him to go get some materials and shit. No Lowe's and nothing, but how the fuck this God can do anything inside of something he cannot, you know, materialize? I mean, he must, I mean, only explanation they gonna have to say is magic. That's it. That's all they gotta say is magic.
Yeah, man, or some type of logical fallacy. So
where you lost me at that whole breakdown of his own version of the Kalam is basically straw man and argument from ignorance.
Yeah. So that's where he lost me at. Was on his third fact. So the first fact, he said that the universe consists of space, time, and matter. Okay, I agree with that. So the universe is natural and not supernatural. I agree with that. Then he says fact number 2, nature by definition cannot violate the laws of nature. And I can go ahead and concede that for the sake of argument. But fact number 3, that's where
I can say that doesn't make sense.
He said nature therefore cannot be eternally old and uncaused. Why? Because for nature to be uncaused violates cause and effect, the law of nature, and to believe that nature can violate laws of nature is absurd.
So he actually kind of debunked his own God theory when he said that nature is it's only natural but not supernatural, but it can be created by a supernatural being.
Yeah, so that's
where he lost me. I'm like, wait a minute.
So like, now he's using another
not supernature,
because he creating special circumstances for the God. So nature, the universe can't cause itself, but this God can. And I ain't got no evidence for this God, but I'm just gonna imbue him with these characteristics that he can do what I say he can do, even though we don't got no example of it, no evidence of it.
Yeah, no testable evidence. And you know, they're gonna say, well, when you basically disagree with their evidence of God, they say, well, you can't see. There's a lot of things that's real that you can't see. Like you can't see the air, but I'm like, dang, why y'all always go to this air shit? You know what I'm saying? You can damn measure the air. You can breathe it. You know what I'm saying? It's testable.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But you can't test God. You know what I'm saying?
You can demonstrate that.
And they think because, yeah. My bad. Go ahead, bro.
I was gonna say you can demonstrate these things. I get upset when they try to say that too. Like they try to make it seem like, well, you believe in things that you can't see, but seeing stuff done is not the only factor that we go by to determine if something exists. You know what I'm saying? It's a lot of stuff I can't see. I can't see heat, but I can feel heat, you know? So if there's another way I can demonstrate that this thing exists, I don't have to see it. But you can't demonstrate that your God
exists at all,
let alone seeing them. You can't demonstrate that he exists. You can't measure this motherfucker. You can't prove that he's there or that he's a he. You know, it all always leads back to some type of special pleading or logical fallacy or some argument from ignorance.
Yeah.
And that's exactly
and then given the facts that Jesus is an astrological character, what we just presented, the little presentation, I'm still waiting on the Christian to call in to debunk the information that we basically presented. So I mean, because they always because like I said,
I'm not too confident that I don't think they too eager to call in, man. Because when you got people that's dealing with facts. Christians don't want to deal with facts, man. They want to deal with belief. Cause I'm gonna get the Christians off they script so quick they ain't gonna have no argument. So what I told bro, that if God was spaceless, timeless, and immaterial, that's equivalent to being non-existent. You don't have no space, you don't have no time, you don't have no material. How can I tell something that's spaceless and timeless and immaterial from something that don't exist at all? They seem identical, So you just basically said that God don't exist by saying he's spaceless and timeless and immaterial.
And that he's not the creator. He or she is not the creator.
Yeah.
Yep, man. Shoot. This is actually fun, man. I know we just getting started up, man, but we're gonna get a lot better. You know what I'm saying? We're gonna bring in a lot of people. I've been trying to bring Christians on. They say yeah, but then when you even hit old boy up and he ain't responded because they don't want you to destroy their beliefs because they're afraid of them losing their beliefs. It's like Jeremiah Kamar said. He said Christians think that by them losing their religion is that they fallen off a 90-story building when the fall is only 2 inches.
Mm-hmm.
And I like that that sentiment that he used. The fall is not 90 stories; it's only 2 inches. All you gotta do is step off the curve. That's it. Christianity is the curve. It's not 90 feet up. It's only 2 inches up.
Yeah, man, we gotta wake these people up, man. We got to.
Yeah, man, because like I said, it goes all the way back. I know we was on, Jesus is not a historical figure, you know what I'm saying? Given the information that we presented. But like I said, the state of the black community, man, it's never going to get better. We're going to always be pent against each other. And that was used to divide and conquer because even black folks, you got different denominations. I know in North Dallas, on Adelia and Skillman, you got the Greater New Hope Baptist Church, and then next door you got the Seventh-day Adventists. And then when they lead a church on Sunday, I don't see them going across each other, shaking each other hand. Hey, Miss Dorothy, how you doing, girl? Oh yeah, I know you're a Seventh-day Adventist, but I still love you. They get out at the same time. They all get in each other cars, hugging. It's like a gang to me, man. This Christian, these different sects, it's like a gang clique. You know what I'm saying? And then when you cross over to Seventh-day. So what? I
said it's divide and conquer.
Yep.
You got Hebrew Israelites. They do a lot of stuff for Hebrew Israelites, but they don't look at black people as they people. You know what I'm saying? So like, I was watching Reggie Mabry debate a Hebrew Israelite, and he opened the debate by saying Black Power, and then you see the other side go Black Power. He said Black Power. The other side go Black Power, and then he was like, notice that this side of the room didn't say nothing, but they all black. You know what I'm saying? That's the fucking problem, dog.
Mm-hmm. They call themselves Black Hebrew Israelites. Hebrew Israelites.
You black first, though. That's just ridiculous. So everybody else got a nation, but except us. Everybody that's African American trying to belong to some type of clique, some type of religion, some gang, instead of just realizing that we are an exceptional case in this world. We African Americans, a lot of us don't know what country our ancestors came from. So we American. I argue that we more American than the white motherfuckers because our ancestors built this shit. So we got more right to this land than they did.
Yeah, they built it and they was already using.
So like exactly. Until we come together and start being a people together and put all this belief stuff behind us, black people ain't never gonna get nowhere, man. And we're gonna keep getting the same shit that we've been getting because of this religion.
Yeah, sun worship. This sun worship, and I ain't saying nothing wrong with sun worship because our ancestors did it. You know what I'm saying? They did it as a way to teach us science. You know what I'm saying? It was, and you know, I get this backlash about Horus and Set. Horus supposedly, you know, had raped Set or something like that. I said, well, I don't believe that Horus and Set were real, but they were principles of nature. You know what I'm saying? Horus and Set, they always had a feud. Horus was the sun god, you know, was the sky god, and you know, Sky, he was another sub-sun god, and he always defeated Set in the morning, and then Set defeats him in the evening. So this whole Horus and Set came between his butt and shit, that's that Hebrew, that's that Greek shit. That was Greek. That whole coming between his buttocks and stuff, that's not ancient. That's not ancient canon. Yeah,
I ain't never even heard
they saying that. Yeah, they reading Wallace's Budge's book, the Per Imharu, the Book of the Dead. Yeah, Wallace Budge translations and shit. I'm like, wait a minute. So y'all want to talk shit? Y'all want to use the white man's information to go against your ancestors, but not realizing that you also using the white man's information as your history book going against your ancestors. So it's a double whammy on y'all motherfuckers' mind, man, for real. Because nobody really trusts. Wallace Budge had a lot of things correct, but he missed a lot of pronunciations were bad. Like he didn't have the right pronunciations. But I don't even think Wallace Budge even put that Horus had sex with his uncle, and his uncle did a hot dog move on him and came between his butt and shit. I'm like, where y'all getting this from? I'm like, what?
I don't know, bro. This is the first time I ever heard of that.
Yeah, watch it's the not ISUK, but it was Kemet on Trial. Yeah, watch Kemet on Trial, the first round. That's when Brother Hashar and who was Hashar with? Because I know Tazaria, he's with ISUPK, and Hashar's with damn, what kind of Hebrews them niggas are? I just call them a lost tribe.
Oh no, I'm not familiar with
Hebrew Israelites. Yeah, but yeah, it was Hashar, and they was talking about that shit on Kemet on Trial. Actually, I'm gonna find that clip where they talking about Horus and Set had sex, and Set did a hot dog move and come between his butt and shit like that. I'm like,
yeah, that's crazy.
And that's what they always go through that. I debated some on IMO. I had some Hebrews, man, that was debating. Oh, I forgot to bring this Jeremiah Judah. That's what I want. That's what I want on this. I'm gonna get Jeremiah Judah. I forgot I had his number. I ain't called that nigga in a while, but yeah.
Yeah, hit him up.
You know who Jeremiah Judah is, right?
Yeah. See if he'll come on.
Yeah, I forgot I had that nigga number. I said, damn, that's what I should have called. I know Jeremiah Judah because, you know, but he's scared of Sinetta, though. He'll get on there, but then he'll like, Sinetta, I gotta go, man. I gotta go to sleep. I gotta go to work in the morning.
That's crazy, man.
Yeah, and he said that on a Saturday, but he had to go to work in the morning. But you ain't supposed to be working on a Sunday. Okay, that makes perfect sense. Because you know, Sinetta run that interrogation on Saturday, and it's funny that Jeremiah Judah got on there. He said, "Man, I got to go to work in the morning on a Sunday." Yeah. I never forget it, man. I was like, "Yep, you don't even believe in your own damn book. If you don't go to work, that damn boss gonna fire your ass. And you ain't gonna be able to feed your kids and your wives." Yeah, I forgot I had that nigga number.
Yeah, Edward Moore in the chat just made a good point. He said they think the Kemetic concepts of nature are actually people, and that's true. Like a lot of that stuff, that Kemetic teaching, even if some of it was a little sexualized, it was allegorical. So back then, first of all, they didn't look at the sex the way we look at sex. It's the same way today. Women cover up their breasts in America, but in certain countries in Africa they don't, and they don't sexualize it. It means it's nothing to them. The men don't get all riled up when they see a woman's titties because it's just normal. So back in the day they had these concepts that we would look at them and sexualize them, but they didn't look at it like that. It was just a story that was meant to convey a message. But over years these people think that they actual people. Like they think Moses was a real person, you know, they think Jesus was a real person. And these were all just stories. They don't realize that.
Yeah, the story. Hey, man, I wish I was a little bit more prepared, man, because I would have broke down the calendar, the Gregorian calendar with the zodiac and stuff like that. You know, I mean, I was just basically giving people bits and pieces. But like I said, by next Sunday, man, I'm gonna be well prepared. I'm gonna also put some flyers up. You know what I'm saying? For once I'm out of Facebook jail. I gotta watch my mouth. Can't call nobody a coon no more.
Facebook been going ham, man.
I gotta watch my mouth on that. Gotta watch my pipe because it's so frustrating. I'm like, nigga, you 48 years old and you still think that shit is true? Like, God damn, man.
Yeah, man.
But yeah, man. So I'm gonna create a conference call.
When I heard Ricky Smiley goddamn say that he was questioning the Bible, I was like, okay, it's a chance these people can wake up, because I know Ricky Smiley one of the most church going motherfuckers like publicly out there. So for him to come out publicly and say, you know, I'm not too sure about the Bible, that's a big deal. You know what I mean?
And Deion Sanders, you know, Deion Sanders, I'm gonna send you that clip, man. Deion Sanders questioning religion now. He like, man, he said, we've been doing all this praying to God and stuff like that, and nothing's being changed. So he didn't come out per se, but I read between the lines. When Deion Sanders, a pastor, says that we praying to God and all this stuff still going on and nothing's changed, what we gonna do? He didn't want to say what he had to watch what he had to say because he's still a pastor. Mm-hmm. But he basically slipped out on him. He slipped out on Deion Sanders, and he was like, all this praying to God and nothing's being changed. And his follow-up was, what we gonna do? Like, where's God at? Or I'm thinking that this shit might not be real. You know what I'm saying? So I know what's going through Deion Sanders' mind now. You know.
Ain't no way. That's why I don't have a lot of respect for preachers, because ain't no way you could study this stuff and not know that it's not real, unless you got a real cognitive bias, you know, and everybody got them, but you're supposed to work to dispel your cognitive biases. But I don't know what's going on in these preachers' mind. I do know that they making hella money, so you know, if they get good money, the chances of them, you know, telling the truth is slim, because this their livelihood and they eating good. But like I can't respect nobody who basically, that's worse than a drug dealer to me, because you poisoning people's mind, and they eating this stuff and thinking that it's true. And you preaching to them from a position of authority. Like anytime somebody, if you try to go out and you say something against the pastor, they gonna look at you crazy because this dude a pastor. But what if this motherfucker a rapist, an asshole? Just because he a pastor don't mean he can't be all of that. That's why I put out the videos that I put out to show people that these pastors are some of the worst people on the planet. They criminals just like everybody else, and they the same people that's preaching the Bible to you. And they still.
And I don't mean to bring that up because, you know, my daughter, when she was 4, her grandfather, well, he was a step grandfather. He wasn't her biological grandfather, but he molested my daughter. You know, in East Texas, man, and he was a minister. The only thing, he's a preacher. Actually, I'm gonna send you the link.
Damn.
I'm gonna send you the link. Texarkana, man, Texarkana, Texas, man.
Yeah, I'm sorry to hear that happen to your daughter, man. But damn, I mean, I don't put that nothing past these preachers. They're the scum of the earth to me, man. They do some of the worst shit. Some of the worst shit.
And it's sad that my baby mama, you know, still believe in Jesus. After she was molested by him. She was molested by him from the time she was 3 up until she was 15, to where she was able to fight back. You know, so she told me all about it. And the reason why we broke up is because she had a lot of hatred towards him, and she took it out on me, and I was the one taking care of her. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. But it is what it is, man. But she done got over it, and you know, I guess she just needs to get that out. But you know, I just hope it don't affect my daughter, man, because my daughter seem okay, but you know, I guess once they get older, that's when they start understanding life and shit. They start like questioning a lot of stuff. And I think my daughter probably gonna be asking why. I mean, she was 4 years old, so I don't know at 4. I don't know if you're old enough to remember certain things, but
some stuff will stick with you, man. 4, she'll probably remember that, man. But you just, you know what I'm saying? You just have to pick her brain when she get old enough to communicate better, and you know, make sure that she alright.
Yeah, because I'm supposed to get them next weekend, man, and y'all will probably see them on the show. You know, they probably be running around the house like they normally do. But yeah, man, she's 9 now, but she's doing pretty good. She's doing good in school and stuff like that, and I'm proud of her on that. Now, my daughter, I think she's going to be an atheist, man, because she always asking me questions. She like, I remember she asked me, she said, did God create the earth, Daddy? Because in science says that the earth was created by the sun.
Hey,
I said, I'm glad you told me that instead of telling your mama then, because your mom probably would have whooped you, man.
She's smart as
because she said science said the earth was created by a secretion dish from the sun. I'm like, secretion dish? I said, where do you know this stuff is? Like, these kids are getting smarter and smarter, man.
Hell yeah, man.
She said, the church said God created the earth, but science says that the sun created the earth. I said, keep reading. I just told my daughter, keep reading, baby. Keep reading. Daddy proud of you.
Yeah, man,
you know, so I don't think my son will get out of Christianity.
She was an atheist, and I was like when, like, how old was your daughter? She like 14 or whatever. and she was having a hard time like at school or whatever, because she was going through these questions in her head about God and all this stuff, and she was getting picked on at school. So I was just telling her, like, look, you smart as hell. If you 14 and you calling yourself an atheist, I ain't even start asking these questions that you asking until I was grown. So you know what I'm saying?
Oh, this your daughter?
Right. Now, not my daughter. It's a daughter of a girl I was talking to at the time. I ain't got no kids.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm stepdaddy of the year though.
Yeah, smart man. Hey, man, if you ever have kids, do not sign that birth certificate without talking to me first, man. I'm telling you, man. I deal with law. I deal with law. Do not sign the birth certificate. It's not because you're not claiming your kids, but man, that's how they get you with child support. So I mean, I'm not saying I'm not advocating nobody take care of their children, but that's how they try to link you to that contract. So
right.
nobody tell everybody don't sign the birth certificate, man.
Paying for a kid that he done got the DNA test for to prove that wasn't his, but he signed the birth certificate and he stuck with the child support.
Yeah, contract. Yeah, he contracted.
Yeah.
But see, I stopped my child support before it came. I said, I'm taking care of my kid. But see, like I said, I do paralegal work, and I was able to challenge their jurisdiction, and they didn't even bother me no more. They said, okay, this one of the brothers we're not gonna fuck with, because he know his shit, he know his rights. So I take care of my kids. And child support is not monetary. You know what I'm saying? It's supposed to be like you spending time and talk to your kids, kind of like how you did with your former stepdaughter, whatever. Mm-hmm. But yeah, man, enough about that. So, man, who's going to call into the show? Who's the first victim?
Man, we've been on here for an hour 20. I don't think nobody going to call in, man. We might have to just wrap it up and get back on next week. So you got anything you want to close out with, man? Any links, your Cash App, anything that you want to let the people know?
Oh, okay. Well, people, I'm just saying, man, hopefully this was a good learning, tool that y'all got today, or some good information, man. Don't take our word for it. Go research it yourself. Bring your Christian friends, just like every Sunday, go get some popcorn, put on if y'all got a smart TV, put us on your smart TV, man. Have your Christian friends over, man. Go wake these people up, man. Maybe I feel like this. If we all wake up as black people, I guarantee the gun violence will stop. There won't be no beefing. Won't be none of that, because reason why it's beefing, because we don't have knowledge of self. We don't have knowledge of this stuff. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Rest in peace, Mo3. Rest in peace, King Von. All the rappers that lost their lives this month, man. Rest in peace. You know what I'm saying? But we need to come together and just have knowledge of self. Because before when I was a Christian, I was gangbanging, you know what I'm saying? But I always feel like, well, if I get killed in a drive-by, whatever, I'm going to be with my Lord. That's really a dangerous way to live, because you act like you got another life after this one. Yes. And that's not true. So that's why these rappers, even Mo3, don't mean to bring this brother up, but it's just a recent thing that happened in this area in Dallas. But Mo3 in 2017, he did a video called True Story, but it was him dying. It was actually him on a gurney and stuff like that, and him praying to the Lord. He's in the church, and he's around a casket rapping and stuff like that. But see, that's dangerous. Why would you even want to? He's 28 years old. Why would you want to predict your own death? Because you think that you're gonna go somewhere else after you die, but it's all darkness. You know what I'm saying? Ain't nothing there. Ain't nothing there. So we just need to just come together. Next Sunday, we're going to talk about Bible verses that your pastor won't tell you. I think I'm emphasize on that. Kweli, I'm gonna basically do a list, and I'm gonna send you the list over and see if you approve, and that's what we're gonna go with if you decide to. So please bring your family members that's stuck in Christianity. Just invite them over. Hey, we're gonna have nachos, popcorn, or something. Just get them there. Get them there. I know I'm sounding like a preacher. I know, because I preach. Yeah, bring them all. Them they can come. But this is more beneficial to your awakening, to your mental health, than Christianity. I'm telling you, man. When you're stuck in Christianity, you got superstitious belief. You don't want to walk around. You don't want to split the pole. You don't want to basically sweep your feet with the broom. That's how Christianity got you thinking. Because if you sweep your feet, you're not gonna get married. You sweep your feet, you think you're gonna go to jail. It's all superstitious belief. We need to basically wake up and get the fuck out of it. So yeah. So bring your family, man, next weekend, and we'll put on a good show. Because this is something that I think that this will give them. A light will come on in their head, so to speak. So I'm going to talk about Bible verses your pastor won't tell you, won't teach in church. So, all right, Kweli, I'm done. What you got?
I couldn't say it better myself, man. I appreciate you for coming through. And like you said, man, we're gonna be on here every Sunday. So make sure you check in. And it's gonna be streamed live on YouTube. We also got the audio version. Anywhere you get podcasts, you can listen to this in your car, listen to it in the bed before you go to sleep. And we also got a website, KweliKush.com, where we got other shows that you can come and get all of our shows in one place. And as always, I do a free audio book every day. So if you into books but you ain't got time to read and you just want to listen to some books, go to KweliKush.com. You can also get those free audio books every day. Don't miss out on that. So if you like this content, support us, share this video, share all of our content, and that'll help us reach a broader audience. And we'll see you back next Sunday. Peace out.